Hi everyone, and welcome to May as Well Reviews. I'm Emily, and today we're going to be reviewing the SmartPak Piper Knit Breeches in the mid-rise waist. Now, I own the original knee patch Piper Breeches, and I've also owned the classic side zip Piper Breeches. I'd have to say that, I've replaced all of them at this point with the knit breeches that I'm going to talk about today, and I'll talk a little bit about why I did that. These breeches come in 6 colors, but I'll have to say I'm a little disappointed. They don't feature the contrast piping or back pockets like the classic Pipers. As you can see here, these are the tan breeches. And a couple things to note, while they do have the nice front pockets like the original Pipers, as well as the SmartPak logo in the pocket, on the back they feature the Piper symbol, and they also feature a nice Euro seat for a little bit more modern styling. However, a couple drawbacks include the fact they don't have those back pockets or the contrast piping of the original Pipers. And I will also say that it's a little disappointing that the band inside the pant is not the same color as the rest of the pant. In the tan, it's the white. And then the charcoal, it's actually a black band. So just something to be aware of that, if it does roll it all or fold on you, that you will see basically a splash of some other color. I'll also say that while I own the tan, charcoal, and the navy breeches, I will say that all 3 of them came in as a slightly different color than I felt like they showed on the website. The charcoal pants are a bit more blue and a bit lighter than they appear online, and that might be a little hard to tell in the lighting I'm using, but in real life they do tend to come off a little light. Meanwhile, the tan breeches here, I wouldn't exactly call them tan. They're a little bit more brown than that to me, so I would call them camel. And then the navy, which I don't have with me today, are a bit of a lighter blue. However, all 3 colors are still very neutral. They're very wearable. I compare them, with the shirt I'm wearing. Both colors work. And, they're both good schooling breeches and good solid colors. They haven't faded in the year and a half I've had them, so I have to say that, in that regard, I've been very happy with the colors. To me, the biggest drawback to these, or the biggest draw originally to these breeches was the material. SmartPak describes them as a 4-way cotton stretch material, and my first thought was, wow, a cotton breech, like that's great. I sometimes have sensitive skin and I have a little bit of trouble with some synthetic fabric, so it's nice to have, a cotton fabric to go to. However, I will say that they are not 100% cotton. In order to give all of this stretch, you do have to make some sacrifices, if you even want to call them that. So this breech is 65% cotton, 28% nylon, and 7% spandex. To give you a little bit of frame of reference, the original Piper breeches are 63% polyester, 32% viscose, and 5% spandex. And the Horsewomen Grand Prix silicone knee patch breeches, which again are of a similar price point, are 93% polyamide and 7% elastane. One of the things I will say is that to get the actual fabric makeup of this breech, I did have to dig a little bit SmartPak's Q&A, as the only way that they advertise the material is as a 4-way stretch cotton breech. So what does that mean for you? It means that they feel a bit like riding in thick yoga pants. As you can see here, they have a lot of stretch to them, but they're still fairly thick. However, they're comfortable, they're breathable, but there's not a lot of structure to them. If you're somebody like me that might have a little bit of lumps and bumps going on, you might see them in this breech. They're not going to have that glamorous smoothing look to them like, say, a Tailored Sportsman or the Serafina breeches. I'd also say that if you live in a fairly warm climate, or a very warm climate, that these are probably not going to be your favorite pants either. They don't have the same technical fabric as some other, more technical cooling fabric breeches do. And the cotton is a very absorbent material that likes to hold on things like sweat and water and other things you might not want them to hold on to if you're dealing with 98% humidity and a 95-degree day. So You know, if you're dealing with very hot weather, I wouldn't really recommend these. For me, this is mostly a year-round breech. They're stretchy enough that I can throw a pair of fleece tights on under them in the winter, but they aren't so thick that I personally can't ride in them through most of the summer. I will say there are probably a couple days in Kentucky where I'm reaching for a thinner breech, but you know, between the silicone, which I'll get to a little later, instead of having, you know, leather pads or, you know, fake leather pads on them, it does help a little bit with the breathability. But, you know, I will say that if it's really hot, this is probably not going to be your favorite breech. As for the pockets, again, like I said, there's only pockets in the front. They're a bit like jean pockets in that they're deep enough to hold probably your typical iPhone, but if you have an iPhone Plus or a larger Galaxy phone, they're probably not going to work for you. There's also this little bitty pocket here, which I've yet to find a use for. Maybe I'll throw some Advil in there one day so I can lose it and end up washing them anyway. So, as I mentioned before, these breeches feature silicone as either the knee patch or the full seat. As you can see here, these are the full seats. You can see that they're kind of in a swirly pattern, which is fun, I guess. However, I will say the first time I wore these, the full seat version of these, I have a car with leather seats. And when I attempted to get out of my car with leather seats, I almost fell on my face because of the amount of grip they really have. Unfortunately, I will say that if they get a little bit dirty, think like a dusty indoor in the winter, or, you know, you slip and fall and end up sitting in a patch of sawdust, they get significantly less sticky. So that's a little bit of a bummer. However, I'll find the sticky in this full seat is also enough that if your thighs rub together at all, I'm going to see if there's any wear here, and there doesn't appear to be, but if your thighs rub together at all, they will constantly kind of move down your hips a little bit. So as a result, you know, that you really should wear a belt with them. Unfortunately, I'm really bad at wearing a belt with mine. So as a result, you get, oh my God, holy fuck. I'm really bad about wearing a belt with mine, so as a result, I've been really bad about having a belt with mine. So as a result, you know, you do have some of the stitching giving way in kind of several places where I am guilty of simply yanking my breeches up instead of wearing a belt. So wear a belt. That's probably, you know, the number one thing that's going to keep these up, keep them comfortable, and keep you from having the same kind of stitch issues I'm having. I will also say I do not recommend these if you're going to walk a cross-country course. I made that mistake one day, and it was basically like walking a course with resistance bands around your legs, simply because they're going to rub together, and the silicone creates kind of that resistance. So unfortunately, you should probably go for the knee patch breeches or even a pair of jeans if that's what you're going to do. Again, the rise on these is a mid-rise. I would say that's fairly accurate. I would say that they go up right around belly button width, or belly button height, which is good because it's, you know, just tall enough that you can tuck your shirt in. You know, and it's tall enough that no one's going to see your underwear, but they are low enough to be stylish, and I'm never feeling like I can hook them into my bra, and that's how I'm going to keep them up. If there was one thing I would have to say about the waist that I really don't like, it's probably the fact that other than the contrasting waistband, it's probably the fact that it's so thin. You know, I really prefer a thicker waistband, one, because I feel like it helps pants stay up better, and two, because most of my riding belts are thicker than this. This is about 2 inches, I would say. So a 2-inch belt is pretty thin, I think, at this point for riding, and none of my typical riding belts work with these pants. A little bit about the sizing, which I think is worth talking about. I found these to run slightly larger than the original Piper breeches. I would say that, you know, I probably could have gone down a size in these. These are 32. I have a 32 in the original Pipers. I wear a 32 in Tailored Sportsman's. I wear a 32 in Serafina's. These I could have gotten in a 30. They're really just that stretchy, that they give you a lot of opportunity to be comfortable even at a smaller size. To give you a little bit of frame of reference, the original Piper breeches have a very detailed sizing chart that shows, your measurements for your waist and your inseam and all of that information. However, I would say that these probably run a little bit longer than the traditional Piper breeches. The traditional Pipers measure at a 26 inseam. I measure these at a 27. I will say, though, because they are so stretchy and in every direction, like this is the leg, that's a lot of stretch. So when you're putting them on, sometimes they end up having more length at the bottom than I really feel like is helpful. I say that, most of the time when I put these on, I end up with a little bit of kind of slack in the bottom of my ankle. Thankfully, they are the sock bottoms. So there's no Velcro there, or there's no hook and loop closure. You can just fold them up if you need to. In my case, I just try to make sure that they're neatly folded underneath the sock. And that way they fit quite comfortably inside of my boots. So if you are shorter, I'm 5'4" on a good day. Typically regular pants fit me. I would say that if I was any shorter than this, these pants might not be an option. So, again, if you're shorter, that's something you consider. If you're taller, you might not need the tall size in these. I have a couple taller friends who choose not to get the taller size. Finally, durability. Okay, so I am abusive to my breeches. I have a pretty strict policy with anything I wear as, schooling clothes, anything I'm wearing just to hack my horse around. It has to be able to go in the washing machine, and it has to be able to go in the dryer. Now, if I look at the tag on these, it looks like they don't recommend drying them. Wash with mild detergent, lay flat, or hang to dry away from heat. So I don't put them in a very high heat cycle in my dryer because, again, I would very much be concerned that this silicone would literally melt and stick to itself. However, they do go in the dryer in a low heat. And I've had each of these pairs for about a year and a half. So I can't really complain. Like I said, the colors stayed up really well. They've held up really well. The only wear, my navy pair have not shown any wear whatsoever, and I feel like that's the pair I wear the most, ironically. However, I just had, here my tan breeches, you can see there's a very small hole in there, right in the crotch area. That's where, just a stitch popped. So for me, a year and a half, a stitch pops, I can deal with that. I'm perfectly capable of stitching another stitching myself. And again, with the full seats, the main issue is really, again, where that band is starting to come off because I refuse to wear a belt with them. So 2 days a week, year and a half, and my biggest issue is a couple stitches. I'm very happy with that for the price point of this breech. So what is the price point of this breech, right? Well, these retail regularly for $69.95. As a result, they don't reach the free shipping limit for SmartPak, which is $75 per order. However, they will ship free and you will get 10% off if you're a Smart Perks member. I'll put the details of that program in the description box. I'm also a USCA, USCF member, so I get an additional 5% off. So the regular price of these for me is $59.81, and that includes the free shipping. It's not a bad deal. However, you can get them for even less. SmartPak often offers 10% sales, and they even run a few 30% off sales. Hold on one second. I have a dog bone. And they even run a few 30% off sales every now and then on their SmartPak brand items, which obviously includes all of the Piper breeches. SmartPak also often has 10% sales running. However, they also run a few 30% off sales of their SmartPak branded items, which obviously includes Piper breeches, which again are SmartPak exclusive and made by SmartPak. As a result, I never pay full price for these. There really isn't a reason to. And at the discounted price, I really do feel like these are some of the nicest schooling breeches you can get. So let me know below, have you tried these Piper breeches or any of the other ones? Which are your favorites? And if you want to see more reviews like this, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe as well. And I hope to see you soon.